Welcome to Honeybee. Real stories of love, betrayal, and truth, where every revelation stings. She stood there with her arms folded tightly across her chest, her eyes sharper than I had ever seen in all the years we'd been together. Her voice, steady but icy, carried no hesitation. "I'm going to spend a night with him," she said, as if she were announcing something as casual as a grocery trip or an extra shift at work. Indifferent. Routine. Unmoved by whether I agreed or not. For a moment, I just stood there, frozen, trying to reconcile this cold stranger in front of me with the woman I had once loved so deeply. I had felt something unraveling for weeks, the late-night texts she brushed off with vague excuses, the sudden work crises, her touch fading, and her laughter, once so familiar, simply disappearing. But even with the distance growing silently between us, I never expected to hear those words spoken aloud. And when they finally came, something inside me cracked in a way I knew could never be repaired. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't beg. I didn't collapse. I only gave the smallest nod, clinging to the last shreds of dignity I still held. "If that's your choice," I murmured softly, "then go." She blinked, startled by how calmly I let her go. Maybe she wanted a fight, an argument to justify her decision. But I had been the only one fighting for us for far too long. That same night, before she could even leave the house, I was already finished. I packed a small bag and walked out. No slammed doors. No loud click of a lock. Just a quiet exit into the cool night air. I drove until the city lights faded behind me and ended up at a cheap roadside motel. I checked in with barely a word to the desk clerk and collapsed onto the stiff mattress, staring at the cracked ceiling while thoughts stormed in my head. The idea of her in another man's arms tore through me, not from jealousy, but from betrayal. From the knowledge that she had chosen to destroy what we'd built, knowing exactly how deep it would cut. By morning, I went back. A small part of me still hoped she'd be there, that I had only imagined it all. But the house was silent. Her scent lingered, lavender mixed with something faintly warm, almost comforting. Her shoes still sat neatly by the door, untouched. But the warmth was gone. I stood in the kitchen, coffee cooling in my hands, wondering how love had dissolved into such unbearable silence. Days blurred into weeks. She came and went like a guest, collecting her things piece by piece. No apology. No explanation. She never truly looked me in the eye. It felt as though the woman I loved had slipped away long ago, replaced by someone who only wore her face. I didn't stop her. I didn't ask why. Each time she left, I felt a strange relief, like a rope loosening around my throat. Then, one afternoon, a letter arrived. Not a text. Not an email. A real letter, written in her familiar hand. She said she was sorry, not for the cheating, not for leaving, but for how she had handled it all. She admitted she'd been unhappy for years, that she didn't know how to tell me without breaking me. That night with him, she confessed, had been her escape plan. Yet instead of freedom, she found herself even more lost. I read the letter over and over, searching for the woman I used to know. But all I saw was someone who chose silence over honesty, someone who ran instead of trying to mend what was broken. I never wrote back. Some endings don't need conversation. They just need space. So, I rebuilt. I started running again, early mornings on empty streets, just me, my breath, and my heartbeat. I reconnected with old friends, people I hadn't seen since before the marriage, before I disappeared into a life I thought would last forever. I pulled my old camera from the closet, brushed off the dust, and began capturing the world again. Sunsets, strangers, movement, fleeting moments of life. The pain didn't vanish, but it softened into something I could carry without breaking. Months passed. I heard whispers that she had moved to another city. Maybe with him. Maybe alone. I didn't ask. I didn't want to know. Her life was no longer mine to carry. I came to understand something. Real love isn't about possession or expectation. It's about trust, care, and honesty. And once those crumble, everything else collapses like a house built on a fractured foundation. One evening, as the sun dipped into the sea, the horizon burning with color, I stood barefoot on the shore. Waves curled around my feet. The breeze pressed gently against my chest, a quiet reminder that life moves forward. I thought about her, the betrayal, the sleepless nights, the mornings when even getting out of bed felt impossible, and then the days that slowly grew lighter. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't grieving. I wasn't broken. I was free. Free not just from her, but from the illusion that we had ever truly been happy. In that freedom, I discovered peace I didn't know I could feel. Because sometimes heartbreak cracks you open just enough to let the light back in. Sometimes the thing that shatters you is exactly what allows you to begin again. And there, in the stillness of the shore, I realized, I hadn't just survived. I had healed.